Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first Health Tech Entrepreneurs Meetup of 2022. So everyone, welcome. We are recording this. So if you didn't know, we do have a YouTube channel, so you can check out our past meetups. I'll put the link in the chat. So please check out our videos. We have all of our past meetups and interviews with people in our community. So today's speaker to kick us off for this year is Dylan Horvath. He's the founder and chief product officer at Cortex Design, which is a company in Toronto, Canada. But FYI, they are already approved by the NSF and NIH to work with US companies. So everyone should consider Cortex Design. Today's topic is how to de-risk your product before investing in design and prototyping. So first we'll start off with our usual introductions. I'll start and then I'll go down the list to my right on my screen. So when I call on you, please unmute and let us know who you are, what you're working on, if there's any current issues that you want help with or help you're seeking or help you can provide, now's a great time to mention it. So hi, everyone. I'm Neo Gamo. I am founder and CEO of Neurosonics Medical. We're developing a novel therapeutic ultrasound device for minimally invasive neurosurgery. I'm also the vice president of business development at the MDC Studio, which Gil can tell you more about later. It's a startup studio in downtown Baltimore dedicated to building health and technology, medical technology startups. I'm also an associate at the Verte Opportunity Fund, which is an investment fund focusing on high growth companies located in opportunity zones across the country. All right, so Dylan, I'm going to skip you because you can introduce yourself later. Alexis?
Hi, my name is Alexis. I'm a PhD student at Hopkins and my venture is called NovaCup. I'm the COO. Our CEO is usually, she comes to these meetups all the time, but we are developing women's health products, specifically menstruation products that are, these that we're making right now. Our product is an innovative menstrual cup, which is most menstrual cups on the market are just made of medical grade silicone, single material. And so we're considering our design is pretty different. We want to stick with silicone. We are still in the design phase. So we are like looking at design houses and thinking about if there are other ways or other materials or other pathways we should think about other than the traditional menstrual cup pathway. So thanks.
Awesome, thank you. Other Alexis?
Hello, good afternoon. I am an electronics engineer. And I'm now switching to embedded systems. And to me, it was very interesting to see two great entrepreneurs giving us some advices. Thank you so much for this session.
Awesome, thank you. Anthony?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anthony Camarada. I have a company called Startup Cannon. We work with a lot of startups, primarily on the finance and technical accounting side of the business to help companies grow and kind of execute their vision. So good to be here.
Great, thank you. Chrissy? Oh, we can't hear Chrissy. All right, I will move on to Gil.
So I'm.
Sorry. Oh, Gil, you just, okay.
I'm unmuted. Yeah, I'm the founder of the MDC Studio, professor of electrical engineering for many years, and I've started a few technology companies myself. And today, on that, if you can see. That's
awesome.
all.
Thank you. Hamid?
Hey, now, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
That's good. My name is Hamid Badi. I'm with the Office of Technology Transfer at West Virginia University. I manage their IP assets, spin-out, licensing, comparables, stuff like that. Thanks.
Awesome, thank you. Jennifer? All right,
hey. Is it me? Okay, yeah.
Yes, yes, you.
making sure there isn't another Jennifer. So I'm a doctoral candidate at Hopkins, but I have also founded a nonprofit in the past. And so I'm here today because I'm interested in the topic.
Awesome, thank you. Jonathan?
Hi, Jonathan Klaus. I'm actually a registered nurse and a former clinical nurse manager from University of Maryland. And just here, I'm interested in the topic and looking for jobs and kind of interested in the space. So thank you.
Welcome. Awesome. Theodore?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Teddy Gresser. I'm a current venture fellow at TEDCO. Just started there, moved over from Techstars Equitech after kind of wrapping up that program last week. But really, I'm here just interested in the healthcare space and just learn something new. So thanks for having me.
Awesome, thank you. And Sharmista, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, sorry for late joining. Yeah, I am very much interested. So my company, we have a startup. It's a 2-year old startup. And we are in the wearable health tech space. So basically targeting the seniors aging in place. In the next few years, we are expecting many more seniors would love to age in place. And we are seeing how we can support through the wearable and Internet of Things technology and, build their life a little bit better. So yeah, always interested in this med tech and health tech industry.
Wonderful, thank you. So I think that's everyone. So I'd like to introduce Dylan. He's the founder and chief product officer at Cortex Design. He has over 20 years of experience in product design and startup ventures. He has degrees in systems engineering, design engineering from the University of Waterloo in Canada, and mechanical engineering from the University of Michigan. And he founded Cortex Design in 1999 because he wanted to create a product development firm that fostered human connection and improved health outcomes, and to allow people to do things that they couldn't do before. So I will hand it off to you, Dylan.
Okay, well, that sounds pretty good. I don't think I need to expand on that intro at all. And it's a pleasure to meet you all, and thanks for taking your time today. I'm really happy to do any one-on-one questions on this chat as well. I do have some slides that I've prepped for this, and I can go through those. I'm sure that you've heard a lot of things about a lot of different topics, and there are many different aspects to every product development journey. Running Cortex Design, we usually find clients who are stuck in one step of that journey, or very often just need to accelerate and need a team to help them accelerate through. And our process is designed to help those people. And as such, we've gained a lot of experience. Today, I really want to just talk about the beginning of that process. So I'm going to start sharing my screen here. And let me know if everyone can see it. Does that look okay?
Yep, it looks good.
Okay, great. If that works, then we'll proceed. So this is me pre-pandemic, and this is future me pre-pandemic. Now future me kind of looks like this. I'm interested in developing health tech products because I am aging just like everybody else. And I am interested in creating the kind of world that is going to make my life and everyone else's life a little bit more enjoyable as we age. Within Cortex, as I mentioned, we've got several stages of product development, and we tend to look for clients and identify what stage they're at in the development journey. And what I want to focus on today is really that first phase. This is a phase. This really is a good approach for this is a generalized approach for any product development, but what happens within any one of those stages? Our philosophy is that risk should be reduced at every stage. So you're trying to reduce risk and you're trying to increase excitement and increase resonance with your target market. And if that's not happening as you go through the stages, that's a good indicator that maybe you shouldn't proceed yet to the next stage, or at least identify what some of those risks are. And we also try to identify where a client is in their technology readiness level. So is this very early stage? Is this concept? Have there been feasibility studies conducted? Have they developed a prototype? And so on. So the lower the level, the higher the risk. And then from our perspective, we want to be transparent as well with the client about where we're at with our own professional competency in this particular, in the area that the client is working in. So we try to identify that early up front. So you can see if the mark on the top grade is to the left and we're to the right, we're probably a pretty good match and we're going to be able to accelerate someone through it. If the opposite is true, we may not be the right partner for that client. And if we're sort of in line, then we're on a journey together. You know, there's learnings to be done perhaps by both sides. So I'm going to talk about this phase one, what happens a little bit when we're just getting started and just starting to understand who the user is. And I'm going to tell it through a few anecdotal stories. So it's really good to identify early on that your user is never going to do what you want them to. Everyone has a picture in their head of how their product should be used. It rarely gets used this way. And you can identify this yourself every time you're frustrated with a new product that you purchase and you're struggling to understand one step of it. That is an indication that there's been a bit of a gap in either the design process or in understanding how a particular user is going to approach a new design. How many people have heard of this Juicero product?
Oh, yes, I'm familiar with this one.
Amazing. Okay. Yeah, this is a really interesting case study. This is not a health product exactly. It's not a medical product, but it's a food grade product that was developed in the Bay Area. It received a huge amount of venture financing and was extremely well designed as an engineered device. And its purpose was to create a subscription service where people would subscribe to juice packs that would basically get delivered to their home. And it was sort of macerated fruit in these pouches. And you would load it into the unit and then get fresh squeezed juice from whatever your flavor preferences were. And this was darling of Bay Area venture firms in that it was a beautiful brand, beautiful subscription service. The recurring revenue was part of the model, and juicing, I guess, was a big thing in California at the time. And people kind of had their blinders on. Now, there was nothing really wrong with the engineering of this. The engineering was quite impressive. They spent millions of dollars on the development of this device and getting it through regulatory approvals and using top-notch engineering. The mechanical design was beautiful. This is a teardown from a teardown site was really exemplified, showing how thorough the engineering effort was on this product. It occurred to me today, looking at the circuit board in the bottom left corner, you can see the logo for Juicero. So the brand development was quite well developed at the time that they were producing these PCBs as well. So the problem with Juicero was that it required the intranet, first of all, in order to work. And what people discovered was if you didn't know how to connect it to the internet, you couldn't actually get this thing to squeeze the juice packs. So what people would do is pull these juice packs out and just squeeze them themselves. And it became evident that you didn't actually even need this machine in order to deliver the service, thus making all of that engineering effort kind of for naught. The other thing was you can see the barcode up there. The barcode would get scanned by the machine, and if the juice was not had not been very recently delivered, it would say it was expired. So you couldn't actually even get the juicer to juice your juice. And this is how people discovered that you could just pull it out of the machine and squeeze it yourself. The startup failed. It was a huge loss. And in the end, it was this disconnect between what looks like a really beautiful product and a great business model and the actual pain point of the people that are there experiencing the product and how they're going to go through and use your product. In the medical space, I'm not sure if people have seen this before, and I grabbed these slides from a few years ago, and now this product has kind of come full circle. So this is a pill dispensing robot. It's called Pillow. It's since been renamed, and the concept for this is great. You have this assistive device that's sitting on your kitchen counter, and it helps you with your pill regimen. So not only that, but it actually does facial recognition so that when John approaches the machine and John needs to take some medication, it will identify that is him in front of the machine, and it will dispense the medication accordingly. So clear pain point: medication mismanagement and adherence to medication schedules is a big problem, and accounts for many deaths in the States and in North America and worldwide. As we age and as our medication schedules and medication regimens increase in complexity, it becomes increasingly difficult to stick to them. And so this is an assistive device to address that point. This slide is one of the marketing images that Pillow put out. And to me, this identifies what the gap is between the idea of the product and a really clear pain point. Not sure if anybody could volunteer what that pain point might be. So the most difficult thing with doing a medication regimen is knowing what order and when to take your medication. That really is the pain point. Here, in order, you see the dispenser being loaded. So there's a pill box right beside it with a completely mixed up regimen of pills without their pill bottles beside it that say what the schedule is. In their own marketing images, they're showing how difficult this is. So the way it's actually used, you have to go through this whole loading regimen and load pills in sequentially one at a time. It can take 20 minutes, 30 minutes to load up. Once it's loaded, if it's loaded properly, then it can do its job. So, but the problem is it actually creates a new pain point that wasn't there before. So by not understanding what that real pain point was, the product that's been developed has essentially demanded that someone who's more capable than the person using the product be part of this circle of care and be there to load this machine. And so this is what the dispenser looks like in the back. This is actually good from an engineering perspective. Again, it's reasonably simple. There is not a lot of, there are some moving mechanisms, but the moving mechanisms are relatively simple. You can identify which which compartment all of the medications are stored in. It's very visual. However, again, if you take that tray out, it's essentially the same product and with fewer pain points. So I grabbed this review today from Amazon. This is actually on Amazon right now. Interestingly, the product was purchased by Black & Decker. And I know that Black & Decker has made a bit of a move into the personal healthcare space. but it just still seems like an odd marriage. And you can see the reviews are pretty mixed. As an entrepreneur or a CEO of a company who is launching this is kind of your worst nightmare. You've launched it, you've got a huge number of products out in distribution, and the reviews start coming in like this. Now, I don't know about you, but when I go to Amazon, generally if something's got a 2.8 out of 5, I'm not going to get it, and I'm going to dive right to the 1-star reviews. Amazon was kind enough to put the 1-star review right front and center as the top review from the United States. And, 1 star, not good, several issues. You don't really want to go past that, but I did. To summarize it, it really was the interaction with the device and the number of new pain points that this product introduced, which was at issue. So this brings up the first insight. Identifying how you are asking one of the users of your service or your product to change their own behavior in order to bring your product into their life. The more you do it, the more painful and more friction it's going to entail. So we were actually asked to design a product in the same space. And this is our approach. So in medication dispensing, one of the ways that that this problem is addressed today is with these things called multi-dose pouch packaging. So multi-dose pouch packaging is available at scale throughout North America and Europe. And what happens is at the central fill pharmacy, they will receive a medication regimen of multiple medications, and they will package that in in sort of a reel of this pouch packaging that is sealed. And so they have multi-million-dollar machines that are set up for filling these pouches, and they're staffed by trained staff, and the quality standards are at medical grade level standards to ensure that all of this is done properly. So this is already being done. So Pillow, rather than adopting this standard, chose to take all of that and put that down on the individual user. Our approach was to take advantage of this. So how can we work with a system that already exists? And rather than package it up into boxes, which is how it's done today, we designed a cartridge system that would allow you to put these multi-dose pouch packages into a reusable cartridge that is filled at the pharmacy, shipped directly to the user, and inserted into the back of this medication dispensing machine called Carry. And Carry is then responsible for scanning the package and pulling it down, doing a little bit of a cut in the top of the pouch, and then severing the entire pack from the rest of the reel. We haven't talked too much about regulatory, and I don't want to get into regulatory, but having a good regulatory framework in which your product can thrive is a really key part of your strategy to identify early on. One of the things that we identified early on with this product was, in order for this to be compliant and to go through the regulatory hurdles relatively quickly, it had to not interfere with a person's ability to actually get their medication. So if it was preventing them from getting their medication or dispensing it, sort of predetermining when to dispense it, then it really became a medical product with a much higher bar to pass. So as a first stage in introducing this, we designed it specifically so that you could pull the cartridge away and you could get at your medication anytime you wanted to. So it essentially had the same regulatory framework as a cookie jar. Also, when it was in proper use, plugging it into the back of the cartridge of the dispensing system, it would tell you when your schedule was, it would remind you when it was time to take your medication, but it wouldn't dispense it unless you actually click the button. And so there's a single button, single point of interaction, pushing that button. Every time you push it, it's going to bring a pouch of medication forward. This is just a system that sort of goes on top of the existing system and augments it and makes it a little bit easier to use. Now, to be fair, this is not available on Amazon, so I couldn't go and look at what the reviews of this product were versus the reviews of Pillow to compare and contrast. But this was the difference in philosophy between these two approaches, and one that we employ to make products that resonate more quickly and more easily with your users. So the nice thing about doing physical product design is physical products, you can get them to do a lot of things that software can't do. They exist in the real world and they can manipulate the real world. By and large, people do not want to change their behavior in order to use a new product. They will only do that if it reduces their pain or gives them a new superpower. Otherwise, the use of the product itself is inconvenient. So when we're designing systems, we try to look for ways to minimize those interactions and minimize the changes in behavior that someone has to go through. This is a wearable system that we designed for a client's Cloud DX, who we ended up investing in, and they had contacted us to help them win an X Prize competition. And this was the part of the system that we designed for them that eventually won the Bold Epic Innovator X Prize in the Tricorder X Prize competition. So the Tricorder was designed to monitor all 5 human vital signs simultaneously and be able to diagnose up to 15 chronic human health conditions, all within a system or package of devices that weighed less than 5 pounds and could be used by the user with no clinician. Where one of the reasons why we did so well in this competition was we really tried to identify how to minimize the number of things that a user had to do and take as many of those on by the device itself. So if we had to change batteries on the unit, this was one of the user requirements. This had to last 72 hours on the body, worn continuously. And while monitoring all 5 human vital signs, that was a lot of computing power and a lot of battery consumption that it would need to do. So we recognized early on that you'd have to change batteries. We didn't want the people to have to take that off them in order to change the batteries. So the form factor was kind of defined by those 2 circles in the front. Those are hot swappable batteries. You can take them off, put them on this charging base, put the new ones on, and away you go. It's a very simple interaction. All of the blood tests and urine-based testing is done with an integrated suite of cartridges. And the use of all of those cartridges is exactly the same, regardless of the property that it's being tested for. I think most of us are now familiar with rapid tests. So this is an assay test where you have a buffer solution that is placed and dripped onto this, and then migrates across the piece of paper as an assay, and then there's a result that appears. This system automated the timing and inspection of those results with this sort of silver drum. Can you see my mouse pointer on the screen?
Yeah,
You can see it.
Okay, yeah, so there's this little silver drum area. That was where you would put the test cartridge, and it would know what test cartridge was placed in there, and it would time the amount of time it took for the proper test to develop, and then it would invert it to image it. So there were lots of little things that prevented people from needing to do behavioral changes or things that they'd never done before. And as a result, we did quite well. So understanding who it is that is going to use your product is a great way to identify new insights and things that you perhaps didn't expect. Most of us go into product development because we've got a personal experience with the area of interest. You know, we have a loved one who suffered from a heart attack because they weren't able to take their medication routine. Or we have someone who has suffered from Alzheimer's, and so we're interested in new technologies to address Alzheimer's patients. That is a sample size of one. So understanding and spending time with the people who are actually using your products is going to give you more insights, and also understand where some of your assumptions are perhaps wrong. Also understanding the difference between marketing and reality. So when we look at raising money, or when we try to put together marketing images of, you know, the best use case, or how we visualize the product, or how we want the product to be visualized out in the world. You know, you may use happy pictures of elderly people like this, and it's good to understand that this is not reality. And the people who most need the products that you may be developing probably do not look like this all the time. And they probably do not have a 30-something-year-old family member with them all the time to read them books and help them with their medications. This really is the environment that you're designing for. So having that understanding can help gain some of those insights, and I'll give you some examples. The environments that they're going into can be crowded, they can be disorganized, but there's often common things that you can find as well, and common behaviors that you can look for. So we were working with a client to develop a system that would monitor people's behavior in the home. And in particular, we're looking at fall detection and sort of a suite of products that could help with monitoring for behavior and fall detection. One of the things that became clear was people who are single and living alone at home, everyone had the chair, and the chair was positioned in front of the TV. However, part of those insights into how someone spent their day, in order to get those insights, you need to have a good level of trust and empathy with the people that you're trying to understand. And we call that ethnography. So ethnography is really the process of going into and participating in the target market of interest. So it goes beyond interviews and goes into experience and experiential learning. Sometimes that's difficult to do. Certainly if you're developing a product for a physician, you cannot become the physician, but you can be close to the physician. The worst place to gain insights is in your office or in a boardroom. Anytime we get taken on a research outing and the meeting is in the boardroom, we always ask to go to the next spot. You know, go to the factory floor, go to the nurse's station, go to the operating room, and speak with the people who are in there, and speak with the people that you're not being introduced to, and to understand the whole environment. So, you know, you may be after these types of pieces of information, but those are your preconceptions going into a discovery journey of, you know, what it is that you're looking for. Sometimes the best data is the stuff that you're not looking for. And so some of those learnings can be uncovered by trying to get to the emotional level, trying to get on an emotional level with the person that you're speaking with. And so that's more talking about emotional states. And those emotional states can lead to real insights and real data. And it's about really having deep conversations with someone. And a great way to get into those deep conversations is by starting with the sort of easy data-driven stuff, but then as barriers get lowered, starting to ask more about what a person's day looks like, and what is the most frustrating thing that happens to you in a day, or what is the most frustrating thing that happened to you today? Oh, and tell me more about that, and allowing those questions to be a bit of a journey to discovery, being open-minded and curious about what a person's lived experience is really like. And through that, you can get insights that can sometimes lead to massive de-risking of your project. So we try to do this with all the products that we work on. We've worked on lift mechanisms. We've worked on virtual reality systems for firefighters and for miners. We've worked on sterilization devices that are used in hospitals. Sitting down and having lunch with the people that you're talking with, that's a great way to lower the bar and lower the sort of barriers to having an open discussion. And not only the people who are using the product, but also all the support people around the product. So in the case of the medication dispensing system, well, the user was one user, but there was also the people at the pharmacy who were responsible for filling these multi-dose pouch packaging. What did their offices look like? What was their storage reality? What was their shipping logistics? What were some of those pain points? Who made the purchase decisions? And how did they make those purchase decisions? These are all key things to understand. And sometimes those insights will lead to actually deciding whether or not you do the project at all. Now, there's always going to be limitations with doing ethnography. The limitations are usually time and money. And with enough time, you may be able to gain access to the type of people that you want to speak with. Ultimately, sometimes you just have to make decisions and move on. So in those cases, you want to develop as small a portion of the product as you can in order to test something that you're not really sure of. So going back to this project where we were looking at a home monitoring system, we developed an idea around a suite of products. And this was in collaboration with the clients, and the client had an agenda that they wanted to follow as well. And a vision of what the product should be. And so we were testing out whether or not these assumptions were correct. So here's sort of a suite of products that were visualized for employing in a home. And the idea was you would get the suite of products, install them in the various locations of your home, and then the system would be able to monitor your behavior and keep you safe and call for help if you weren't. So storyboarding this out and talking with the stakeholders was a way of validating the system before we spent any money on actually putting together a digital system or physical prototypes. It's always fun to rush to that part, and that can be the instinct to do, but just creating a story around the products can help you flesh out whether or not that story resonates. So in this case, the system was built around this idea of a dashboard, and that dashboard was something that was kind of envisioned as being like an iPad that was sitting at that chair, and interaction with the system was to be through that. And this was largely driven by a client request. So we wanted to test that hypothesis of whether or not this was resonant. And so initially the data seemed like it was good. So we did interviews and we showed higher resolution images of the individual components that I'm not showing you for confidentiality. But we really fleshed out what this would look like in their home. And initially the response was good. But as we dug a little bit further, there was a real disconnect between one of the key things that they wanted to do, which was fall detection and detection of ongoing dementia, and the device itself, which the user really saw as something that was akin to a smart photo book. And because of that disconnect, people just didn't see the resonance with the product and the amount of money that it would take to put a system together that people could purchase and employ. There was too big a gap between what someone expected the system to do based on what they saw and what the system was designed to do and the hardware that we'd have to employ. So in the end, it was a relatively small amount of money that had to be spent to realize that this particular direction was not going to be commercially successful. So it was one of those stages where we didn't proceed past phase 1 or 2, and rather than bullying ahead with a $1 million development effort and discovering, like Juicero, that you've designed the wrong thing. By doing this upfront research, you can catch that. And then you go back and find the product that is resonant, or the key technology, the one thing that you can commercialize into something that solves real pain points in a person's life. So it goes back to wanting to understand from the person's perspective who has that pain point, how would they want this problem solved, and visualizing the solution to those problems, and then creating the technology to make that experience real, as opposed to finding the solution or finding a solution in search of a problem. And like the Juicero, it's a solution to automatically squeezing juice, which was a problem that nobody had. And as a result, you spend hundreds of millions of dollars on a product that goes nowhere. And the opposite can also be true. By getting those small insights into a behavior that either someone is not willing to change or wants done for them, like in the case of the Carry medication dispensing system, by understanding those users and designing for their particular constraints and designing for a system that already exists to support you, you can get great resonance with a product. So but you do have to talk to them, and you have to go out in the world and go into those actual environments where those people are working, where those people are living, and be open to insights that you aren't necessarily looking for. Asking for minimal changes in their behavior. And if you're asking for a change in their behavior, there had better be a big benefit to it. And if you can't if you can't get those insights, identifying some of those key assumptions that you're making and test them early. And that is the conclusion of my slides.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dylan. I always find these real life examples to be really, really helpful. And I think it illustrated your points really well. We have a bit of time for questions. If anyone has any questions for Dylan.
I've always enjoyed storytelling when I'm being told a story a lot more as well. So thanks, Neo, for that. This is the type of thing that I would want to hear as an audience member.
I have one question that somebody asked when they registered. So how do you know when you've reached a successful design?
Well, that's a good question. Sometimes it can be hard to measure, but it does go back to that resonance. So you don't know. The people that you're marketing to do. And so it is important to get some of that feedback throughout that development journey. You know, sometimes it can be done with focus groups and things like that, what is really important not to do is go to your friends and family and ask them what they think. Because your friends and family will be encouraging. And it's the person who has to make a purchasing decision and spend that money, or in the case of healthcare delivery, it may be something that has a reimbursement code, and so it's paid for by the healthcare system. And in that case, a successful product is something that lowers total costs or is significantly more effective and been proven to be more effective than existing treatment regimens. And that's a good indicator that you have some resonance.
Dylan, thanks for your talk. Really nice coverage of all the things one should do, but often doesn't do. Coming back to the Carry pill dispenser, so I looked it up, of course. What's the price point for that approximately?
I don't know. I'm not involved in the company, but there's a subscription. It is a subscription service, so it's a monthly fee. I think it's around $60 or something like that, and it's different in different regions. In some regions, it's covered by by insurance programs.
So I get medications from an Amazon company called PillPack. They're exactly those little packaged envelopes of pills. And it comes in a really cheesy cardboard white box. And since I'm an engineer, I thought, gee, I'll build something that dispenses those because it would be cool. And then I thought I'd be the only person who ever wanted it. So I didn't build it, but it seems like overkill. I mean, I have a reasonably decent memory, not great, but reasonable. And the pills in the cardboard box, they seem just fine. I pull one out in the morning, I take the pills, etc. Do you think it's overkill a little bit, the Carry device? It's beautifully designed, I would say that.
Yeah, Gil, it's a fair question. So one of the things that we do know is the longer people can stay in their homes, the better their health outcomes are. And there is probably a 2 to 5 year period between someone being able to live independently and there being a point where their mental acuity or their memory or has started to change. And in that period, that's where this device is really best. I would say, yes, it is overkill for people with a few medications. And for people who even have multiple medications, but whose mental acuity is quite sharp, as yours clearly is, it may not be it may not be a good match. So it is at that point where like there has to be a pain point, right? Like you are not experiencing that pain point of, hey, I need a medication reminder, or I need something that will assist me in opening these packs. So there is no pain point to sell that system to you. At the point where that changes for someone, that is when a higher level of assistance is designed to come in. And the point of that is allowing someone to stay in their homes for 1 more year, 2 more years, 3 more years, 5 more years, where they can enjoy a higher quality of life.
Which end of that spectrum do you think I'm on, the 1 or 5 years? So, have you ever done any work on design and development of robots for the home? So this pile of wires next to me is a companion robot should be. So I've had people work on this for 5, 6 years, making robots that in principle can live in your home and talk to you and do cool things. But I've never started a company because there have been many well-funded companies that have built cool-looking things, and pretty much all of them have failed. So Amazon has stepped in. Their chances of failure are very low, but their robot is cute and it can follow you and you can talk to it, etc. But really, that's a problem, I think, in this area. You had a slide that said, don't try to solve everyone's problem, maybe someone specific's problem. Any thoughts on the companion robot issue?
Yeah, actually, I have a TED Talk out where I talk about my experience with home care robots.
Wow.
And I can say as someone who was once working in a startup doing specifically that, I got very disillusioned with the whole approach. And while I liked working with technology and I liked developing, I like the challenge of developing robots. And I should also say this was a long time ago. This was like back in 90, 98, 99. I felt like I was working on the wrong problem. And I realized that not everyone can do this, but I think as a society, we need more personal human connection. And there are things that technology can do that people don't want to do or people aren't particularly good at. And those are helpful technologies. But technology that is specifically designed to replace human connection, I don't love it. And I think if, idealistically, it would be great if we lived in a world where our time was free so that we could do nothing but form human connections. So I think it's a sad reality that personal care robots probably do have a place in society. But personally, it was a technology that I didn't feel motivated to work on.
Well, I feel very motivated to work on it, but I'm not willing to risk more than $5 in the market. So,
I love working on robots.
I know. I've had my students build dozens of the things. Not yet. Anyway, thank you for that comment.
So Dylan, I have a question for you. I've got like 2 minutes. I'll try to kind of rush it. And it's a wonderful insight. And I wish like I heard this speech 2 years back before we started building our stuff. Like, you don't put the cart in front of the horse. And we started thinking like, there is a lot of need in this elder care for wearables and connected wellness. And we started building it. And initially we, they were interest, but the difficulty is, the retirement homes of the like, they're not open. So even if you say, oh, well, you don't even have to pay for the pilots, they're very apprehensive of like allowing any changes, right? And it's not just the product, it's the process that goes with it.
Yes.
And then, so we are kind of, and in the middle, like there were more like a mandated laws and stuff from the government where they were more interested. And again, then when the laws went out, like, they are no longer interested. So when you're in this yo-yo situation, when you're building a product, what we should do, we should like carry on building the product, knowing that there is a need because of the market research, although you're not being given that opportunity to test it out with the pilots.
So as I understand your question, you have something that you feel has tangible human benefit, but you're having trouble fitting it into the workflow of the.
Yeah, and also like making the end users, like who are decision makers or paying the money, to realize the potential, their pain points, right? And it's their pain points as well as the end users who are the residents or the elderly who they take care of.
Mhm.
So, you know, the pain is there, the need is there, but someone doesn't want to pay or make that, you know, take that extra step towards it. How do you make that happen? Like, you know,
You get them to pay when they don't want to pay.
yeah, just finding that. So is it the product fault? Like we should be scrapping that product altogether when there is a lot of need, or we should try some other way of kind of making that happen?
I mean, maybe, so without knowing your product specifically, I think that's where some companies struggle is being able to really visually tell the story of what it is that a product does, so that people can identify with it quickly, and succinctly describing the value proposition. If it's a long story, that's an issue. It should be a relatively short story of how a product provides either positive human benefit or reduces pain or reduces cost. Unfortunately, in our society, a lot of decisions, money is a very big metric. Even though a solution might be really great, if it is too expensive, or if it's just, or you know, maybe the difference doesn't seem to be big enough between, you know, the before and after, people don't want to pay for it. And if there isn't a reimbursement strategy where there's a lower cost of healthcare by using this, so an insurer will be interested in providing it and in purchasing it, or like a reimbursement code for an existing treatment where, you know, this reduces the cost of that treatment. Yeah, unfortunately, if there isn't a good cost benefit to using the products that is clear and tangible at the point of purchase, or at the purchasing decision, it can be really hard to get something out. So understanding the people that are making those decisions and where their personal pain comes from, where their personal benefit comes from, you know, how do they look like a hero by choosing the right product? Or, you know, how bad do they look if they choose the wrong one? You know, that whole purchasing decision, the psychology of that purchase decision is important too.
Yeah, thank you.
But I'd be happy to talk with you more about what you're speaking about specifically, if you like.
We'll connect with you over LinkedIn.
For sure.
Oh, there's one more question from Alexis.
So, Dylan, I have a simple question. I would like to know if there's a kind of body or regulation in place to prevent that products that from the phase of testing are looking defective, or that they won't deliver what they promise.
Was your question around the regulatory?
Yes, for example, talking about the device that dispenses pills, it was very clear that was complicating the process of helping the patient to get the right dosification. Is there any compliance required before putting the product in the market to prevent that something like that happens?
So there are a number of regulatory hurdles to go through, and it's really good to know which ones you need to go through before you start designing a product. And I would say that's another component that we didn't really discuss here. And Alexis, I understand your interest in that as an electrical engineer as well, because you're going to be the person who's responsible for making sure it gets through regulatory.
But also for me, from the point of view of a consumer, because I'm sure that that unit was expensive, and many people for sure bought them, and they were for sure disappointed.
Mhm.
So my question was related to if there's a mechanism or a law that prevents that users have this kind of experiences.
Well, it depends on the product category. So certainly if it's a medical product, you know, a medical product is something that has claims around human health. And if you are making claims around human health, you need to go through a higher level of regulatory testing. Or you can try and jam it into the market without that regulatory testing and get shut down by the FDA, for example. But yeah, I mean, if it's a medical product, there is a higher standard that protects consumers and protects patients, and it's around patient safety and patient health, and those are legal requirements. For consumer products, it's mostly around consumer safety and operating safely and cooperatively with other devices. That is the legal requirement. And then beyond that, it's market forces, I think, more than anything else, that determine whether or not you can sell it. Yeah, I mean, making false claims about, there's certainly consumer protection laws around making false claims, but making false claims about medical, that's a much higher standard to hit, and a much greater penalty to disobey.
Thank you so much, Dylan. A pleasure to meet you.
A pleasure meeting you too, Alexis.
Great. So we're out of time. So thank you so much, Dylan. That was great. I will put the recording on our YouTube channel, and I'm going to share the next meetup is actually in 2 weeks. We have yes. So we have Katie Kirsch, and she will talk about launching medical and biotech products both here and abroad. So I hope to see you in 2 weeks at 5 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Dylan.